Hello, people of the internet, and welcome to the What a Week podcast, the podcast that's hosted on the YouTube channel Always Done Dirty, hosted by yours truly, Mamba, aka the Talking Snake, also known as the snake that makes your girls' legs quake. And if you don't believe me, you can ask Eve. I deceived her in the Garden of Eden. And my co-host is
Beretta Rels. Now I'm a man all about getting your girl's pussy wetter, and I'm crazy about that cheddar. And welcome to the podcast we have this week, where we like to talk about current events that's happened this week and the craziest shit we can possibly find.
That is true, and this week we are joined by our friend Zach, also known as Baltic. Would you like to say anything, Zach?
What's going on, fellas? Thanks for having me.
No problem. All right. Well, let's just get right into this podcast. This is our weekly wrap-up podcast where we talk about, as Beretta said, all the news of the week. And we give our opinions and thoughts on what's going on. So let's start with our first segment. Let's talk about some politics. I know Beretta loves that. So you have anything for us this week?
Yeah, it's been a pretty crazy week. One big story that I looked into personally this week was Jeff Sessions deciding to lay a crackdown on the media. He's talking about punishing all the leakers in the White House, stating that leakers are making us look weak and we must stop them. So that was pretty interesting.
I don't know how you can say that the leakers are making them look weak. If the leakers can make you look weak by just telling what's going on, then you are weak.
Yeah, I think like their real problem is that their leakers are exposing how stupid the president is or the mistakes he's been making. Just like, have you heard? It's also about that phone call that also I believe happened this week as well, where he was talking with the president of Mexico about saying this, like, you can't make our border wall. You can't say you're not going to support the border wall. You're not going to pay for it. It makes me look bad. So yeah, it's all going back into that. That got leaked out, so now they're really trying to crack down on the leaks and just. Yeah, and
but here's a question for you though. I got a quick question. Where do you personally draw the line between what is considered a leaking? Like, what kind of content do you consider a leak versus what content would you consider the journalists just doing their job and making sure that this information is actually known to the American public?
I don't really consider them leaks, if you ask me.
I mean, I think there's definitely information. Office, there's definitely information out there that should not be known to the public.
No, I would say I would definitely say so. Who we might attack and whatnot, but even that, I think that the people should know just about everything.
Sure, but I mean, I heard this on the radio that I don't really think that verbatim transcripts with foreign nationals, especially the leaders of different countries, enemies in particular, and allies as well, should be public knowledge, especially if it's under the pretense that the other person, particularly in this case the president of Mexico and the prime minister of Australia, didn't know that they were, they didn't know that their information was going to be made public, for they were operating under the under the impression that
it was off the record.
It was off the record and private, and that means that next time that they come to the table with President Trump, they're going to be less apt to talk about very important and pressing matters and they have to more carefully censor themselves. So we all know that we don't want excess censorship, especially from our leaders.
No, I think that's valid. However, I think the problem is that they weren't let known that was going to happen. Whereas I think they should be told, and it should just be known that you're going to be put on the record for everything you say when you're in public office like that. And if you're in a meeting with other leaders, I think that should just be known to both populaces of both leaders' countries. You know what I mean?
Sure. So they should never be taken for granted that any conversation between major political leaders is ever
off the
completely
record.
private.
Yeah.
And also
That's what I'm
leaks
saying.
as well. In another like perspective is that it's true, like what constitutes a leak. But I'm thinking like if someone's doing something legitimate, like the Edward Snowden, like he shouldn't. There's things he shouldn't have leaked. But if the government was doing something that it's legitimately not supposed to be doing, do you think the people should not have a right to know that, or is that weakening the government people by exposing them to the truth of the government?
No, I think if the government's doing something they shouldn't be doing, then yes, we have the right to know that.
Oh, you want to know something really gross?
What's that?
Off topic, I just went to eat this piece of marinated mozzarella from the Mediterranean bar at Wegmans, and it was bad. Like spoiled.
I'm sorry.
I just attempted to eat a piece of fucking rotten cheese. Pardon.
You know how long that has to be fucking sitting there to
It's been like a week and a half.
But I'm saying the whole lifetime of that cheese has to be way longer than that.
Yep, it's in my mouth, and the taste is just covering
Stuck
my palate,
there.
dude. It's vile. Oh, God.
Yeah, that thinking about these Trump leaks will definitely leave a bad taste in your mouth.
If anything, it's also like the leaks. Yeah, he also had like phone record leaks of Australia too, and he was talking. I don't think he was like taking. He was like the guy was trying to explain to him why Trump was like, I don't think we should take these foreign nationals. I don't think they'd be very good for people. They're criminals, who knows? And I gotta just look up this.
No, I saw that. That's not
I'm so
quite what he
upset
was
right
saying.
now.
Wasn't there a line? I can't remember off the top of my head. There was a line where he's saying, "I'm the most incredible person in the world."
I don't remember reading that, but it was like the Australian leader was trying to explain to Trump why they are so careful with who they accept into their borders. And Trump just didn't understand what he was saying and mistook it to be a positive thing in his eyes, whereas the Australian leader was saying the opposite.
Yeah,
But yeah, he's not doing too well, and it's not looking too good for us right now. It looks like other countries are going to start becoming more important players. Yeah, encroaching on our head as
world dominance.
Yeah, like it looks like Germany is going to be taking a few steps forward. Because it seems that I'd heard about a poll with world leaders, and they thought that Angela Merkel was like the best world leader at the moment.
Who was involved with this poll? Because
I really don't.
I can find data that would also claim the opposite.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure you could.
I got a question while we're on the political talk about Trump. Did you guys catch his resemblance of like a his campaign speech in West Virginia?
I did not hear what he said in West Virginia.
It was like almost archaic, like dating back to his campaign. Like if you were to play that and not tell someone that he was president during that speech, you would think it was one of his early campaign
speech.
Yeah, it was absolutely ludicrous, and he was just going off about how, Russia has nothing to do with our elections. There was never any Russians, blah blah blah. And then he's like, going on using populist rhetoric, like, there was no Russians involved. The Russians had nothing to do with this. It was you, the people. Blah blah blah. And then he went on to make the claim that it's the whole Russian fiasco is literally just propaganda created by the Democrats because they are embarrassed that they lost the worst presidential election in history. Although, if you take like I said last night while we were chatting, that if you take a look in a history book, I'm pretty sure that statistically the worst loss and upset in American presidential election history was John Dewey losing to Dwight Eisenhower.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm sorry, Truman. Harry Truman. Why did I say Eisenhower?
Yeah. But he's clearly just trying to make himself look better with what's going on.
I just find it
straight up
ironic
trying
that
to
he had to
fire
do it in West
Jeff
Virginia.
Mueller.
Yeah. I find it hilarious that he had to do it in West Virginia, like of all the places. Like he had to go back to one of his core bases because, they're not gonna. They're so brainwashed. They're not gonna call him out on his bullshit. If you try to pull that same speech in like New York City, you'd get fucking booed off stage.
Speaking of base, I think this happened this week. Again, I'm bad with dates, but he's also Jeff Sessions and the legal team are saying now that they're also trying to find discrimination amongst white males in college.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
But I didn't look too deeply into that, so I don't necessarily.
All I know is that from the highest level of my understanding is that they're just basically trying to reverse engineer affirmative action.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I could totally see Jeff Sessions hating affirmative action. Does Jeff Sessions seem like a guy that would like affirmative action to you?
Absolutely not. Have you seen his record on civil liberties, dude? I don't necessarily think
there is an interesting clip that I would like you guys just to take a second to watch. Not necessarily that I agree with it, but there's this African American Republican. I forget his name. It's not Ben Carson. Who goes on to make the claim that affirmative action. What is that?
Sorry. Well, guys, this is Chris, another one of our friends, so hopefully he can have some input in this as well. Welcome to the podcast, Chris.
Hi, podcast.
Hi, Chris.
Where was I? Oh, this African American Republican goes on to make the claim that affirmative action is actually like worse off against African Americans trying to get into college because it sets the bar. Basically, I'm going to try to summarize this the best I can, but it basically sets the bar so low for like lower income and higher poverty areas of the country. It lowers the bar to the point where it's not giving the kids that are trying to get into college, a proper education and a fighting chance. And basically, they just go to college and they end up failing out, and it basically causes like a tremendous failure rate. Instead of like trying to bolster secondary school education and high school education, they're just making it easier to go to college. And that's causing, like state schools to have abysmal retention rates and high dropout rates after the first and second year, because a lot of these inner city kids are trying to go to college and they end up failing out because they're just not prepared. And he's just basically making the argument that we need better secondary school preparation, not just sending more people to college.
I would agree with him, but I think to make it harder for them to get into college isn't going to help at all. They need the opportunities to be able to get into college as well as a better education in secondary school.
Yeah, plus like whole affirmative action, if you're at like a socioeconomic disadvantage, like have less income, it's going to be harder for you to get into like a good college. Anyway,
or a good school. I'm saying a good secondary school.
Like
a lot of the high schools that these kids are going to are so underfunded. There's no way that they could have a legitimate opportunity to be educated the way they should.
Yeah, I mean,
they're not getting the same
like
education that we got.
You don't have legacy, you don't have like legacy to coast on. Like, oh, it doesn't matter. My dad went here like 10 years ago, so I'm a legacy.
Well, that too, but I'm just saying all colleges being equal, you don't. Not that they are, but just getting into a college is going to be harder if you had a way worse high school experience.
Oh yeah. There's definitely definitely a bigger, harder climb.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people want to just discount that as, okay, yeah, that happened in the 60s, but it doesn't happen anymore. And we know that that's not the truth. Go to Chicago and tell me that their schools are funded the way they should be.
This is also off topic. I heard a rumor Mark Zuckerberg is thinking about running for president.
I did see that as well.
I've heard conflicting stories on it, and I haven't looked too.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it because I really don't care.
I don't have much of an opinion on that.
Yeah, at this stage in the game, it's if you do a good job, great, thanks.
When he can tell me what he stands for and what his platform is, then
I'm interested to see if any Republican, like mainstream Republican, attempts to take the Republican ticket from Trump.
Oh, I think there will be, definitely.
But that's almost, in a way, going to guarantee a loss for the Republicans because there'll be no party solidarity. It'll rip the party up even more than it already is.
Well, that's what they thought was going to happen with Trump, but that didn't.
I'm still scared about 2020.
I was on that time.
So was I. But once you get past the primaries, then when we're on the main ticket, that's when they'll come together. They'll realize that they have to and just suck it up and vote for their party. But I advocate that you shouldn't vote for your party. You should vote for the best person, but
I agree.
Yeah, I think that's really the problem we have is just a two-party system.
Yeah.
It doesn't really work.
It doesn't produce the best results, is what I'll say. Okay, with that being said, let's move on to our next topic. Let's hit some gaming news. I've got a story here. Microsoft executives said that they want PC gamers who use Windows 10 to feel like first-class citizens. Do you guys believe them? And do you think they can make it happen?
What do you mean by that?
I just wonder if it's... Do you think that Microsoft really does have their heart set on making PC gamers feel like they're the number one platform? Like, definitely considering the fact that they also produce the Xbox line. Would it be in their best interest to also tell their base that they want to make PC gamers feel like they're first class citizens?
I feel like that would put a hindrance on their advancements in the Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
But what are they going to do? Make gaming hardware? Just make the software better and more geared towards gaming? Like make a Windows 10 gaming edition?
know.
What would that even entail?
I don't know. That's
so
all
many
I read.
Broken games in release dates, like Batman actually working on release. I don't know that's old, but like that type of.
I've got an article here from PCGamesN.com, and let me just read from it. It says the reveal of Xbox One X was Microsoft's big move at this year's E3, but they made plenty of overtures to us PC gamers as well. It's all part of a multi-pronged strategy, according to the director of Xbox marketing, Kevin Unangst. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. To make their Windows 10 / Xbox environment the best place to play games on PC. But we've heard this sort of talk before. Are Microsoft ready to back it up?
So, if you don't mind me interjecting a little bit, so a big part of what they were doing with the update for the Xbox One X is to kind of make a unified platform. So the Xbox One X is really running on a modified version of Windows, and a big part of what they want to do is all of the like Microsoft Studios games or Microsoft funded games, mainly come out for the Xbox. Well,
Mhm.
with this kind of unified platform, they're trying to make it so publishers can, or kind of requiring it so publishers put out games that will run on the PC and
PC as well.
Xbox. Yeah, but so within the Xbox app, you could technically play these games on you should be able to play these games on your PC as well as playing them on your Xbox. So it's
That's
kind of
interesting.
Really?
Pushing towards a unified platform, and that's kind of what they're talking about there, where they want to release these games so that you can either play them on your Xbox or you can play them on your PC, and that's kind of bringing the PC gamers back into a first class citizen role in Microsoft's world, at least, because all of the games they put out now come out almost exclusively on their console.
Their console.
It's about time, I would say. Yeah, that's like, I've been waiting for PC and Xbox to merge together online to play together. I always thought it was kind of dumb that they couldn't, but I understand why they couldn't at first. But I feel like now we should be almost at that point.
Yeah, I actually, in the light of what you just said, I think that is actually a really good policy that they're pushing for. Do you guys have confidence that they'll be able to pull it off well?
I mean, this is Microsoft we're talking about, so
True.
It's like,
but I'm not sure.
they may, like Microsoft, screw it up in the beginning and then get it right down the road.
I think eventually they'll get it right, but
The Xbox One did not have good beginnings, if memory serves correctly.
I got a question for Chris or Nick, since we have the article in front. Is this how would would multiplayer also be kind of like cross-platform as well? So if you're playing a PC game on your PC, can you play with people that are playing on the Xbox, and vice versa?
I think that's what they're pushing for.
So that's actually can be a whole nother topic on its own, really, because there's been a lot of talk in the gaming industry recently of kind of going to a more global multiplayer system where people across any system should be able to play with each other. And the only team that really hasn't committed to it is Sony. Because even Nintendo has come out and said that they would be open to, coming up with some kind of shared protocol that they use for like online gaming servers so that people across all platforms can play with each other. And there's been a lot of talk. I would have to do a little bit of research to come up with actual games, but we already have games like Rocket League where there's very minimal cross-platform play, but the idea is to expand on that idea and allow cross-platform play across all games in the future. And I know that as far as Microsoft's concerned, games that are coming out on the PC and on Xbox, if they have any say in it, would be able to play with each other. But with Sony kind of being the holdout and being a major player, it makes things a little harder with third-party games to get them to subscribe to it.
Man, Sony, why you always
True,
gotta
that's
hold
what
out?
I've read.
Why you gotta just hold out, man? Like, they held out on Spider-Man, now they're holding out on this too. Shit.
Well, they caved with Spider-Man, so.
So, yeah, but it's the fact that they held out to begin with instead of just caving in the first place, which I wish they would do.
Well, they are trying to protect their own interests as well. If everyone can play with anyone, then it doesn't matter what console you get, and then it might be just down to which one's the cheapest. And
Well, consoles never made
I mean,
money. Consoles
you
don't
could
make money.
always-
Consoles don't turn a profit, though. Games do.
A big
You
part
could-
of that's the thing. A big
Yeah,
part of
but you
console
need a
sales is
console.
exclusives.
And I was going to say,
especially-
if
Yeah.
you push more exclusives, then
especially in Sony's kind of marketed plan, they rely a lot on
the
exclusives.
exclusives.
They've invested a lot of money, especially with you can look at it with the original Destiny, all the exclusives they had
Yep.
with
I
that
would-
game. Well, just even within a game that's cross-platform, that specific platform had exclusives in the Uncharted games and stuff like that. A lot of people buy
even.
the system to play those games.
Yeah,
Where
and it's not in their
Microsoft-
interest.
Microsoft in recent years has kind of failed on the exclusives front. They haven't. It's not like it used to be, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, when they were releasing Halo games that were
Gears
super
of
popular.
War.
Exactly. So Microsoft's kind of been failing on that front, and people are kind of looking at this as saying that Microsoft's trying to move away from the exclusives kind of paradigm, but Sony's very much still subscribed to that with many of the games that come out, at least for their platform.
Yeah, well, I think now that I've had a better explanation of it, I think that this is definitely the way that we should go for right now. But I do like the idea of exclusives. I've always been a console gamer, even though recently I've been moving over to the PC more. But I just love having a console, and I'd like to see them survive for a little longer.
I've always enjoyed the console because it requires less, for the most part, when a game is fully optimized, you're pretty much guaranteed optimal frame rate and
functionality and stuff.
Yeah, which is always something I've struggled. But the customizability and almost like the thing of building your own PC it's like a journey more than it is really worrying about the destination. As cliche as that sounds.
No, I understand it now.
So with console games or consoles in general, yeah, you're always going to have that level of quality, really, because you're not every person is playing on the same hardware. You don't have one person playing on a low end gaming rig with an integrated graphics card and someone playing with a 1080 Ti that could play anything under the sun. Mm-hmm. And that's where people, and not even just that, just there's different graphics card makers, like there's different brands, and all of these have different implementations that they or different hardware also, and they have to kind of optimize it for all of these different things.
Yeah, that is definitely a conundrum in itself.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I guess with console gaming too, it's just the Xbox doesn't the systems like the CPU and the graphics card and the Xbox don't change that often, so it's probably easier for developers to probably produce games easier on consoles, I would imagine. But then again, I think you build them on a PC, games in general. I don't know, really. Would it be faster for consoles than PC games, or is it really just all the same speed?
Well, considering most of the consoles keep the same hardware for however many years of the lifespan, the quality of the games gets better toward the end of the life cycle because they're more adept with the hardware and the software of the console.
Yeah, because you got those first few years where, like, I used to memorize this as a kid, that in those first few years, the games usually aren't that good because they still have to figure out the system. And then later, that's when all the nicer stuff comes out.
When they know what the console can do.
Yeah.
I'm fully subscribed, obviously, and to the point, you guys know this is the whole PC master race thing, but I just like how, I can do everything on my computer. I don't need to have different machines to do different things. Like, it's all in one, and I like that. Like,
yeah, but you do have to pay for that luxury.
You do.
I think the problem a lot of people have with the PC is that like the environment can sometimes feel like toxic. Like, PC master race. Like, I hate that shit. Like,
I hated that too. That I had a lot of resentment for that statement, which is what probably kept me away from PC games for a really long time.
Yeah,
I wish I had given them a chance sooner.
Yeah, I know. I didn't give them a chance just because I was like, fuck PC, fuck consoles for life. That's how I was. I don't know about you guys, but I was like that.
I was firmly in that camp. I never thought that playing with a mouse and keyboard would be fun.
Ever since I started playing WoW, man, I found it, immediately superior. You have so much more control.
Yeah.
It's like driving stick shift or compared to
Automatic.
an automatic car. Yeah.
And it's weird that I thought it would be the complete opposite when I was less educated. You know what I mean?
And it's speaking of best education. Thank you. You just jogged my memory on a point I was going to make. Is that with the PC, I feel like like going in and building your own PC and learning, like what it is and what it takes, and it gives individuals more
Satisfaction?
satisfaction, yes, but like computer literacy, and not just like being able to run their programs, but also understanding the hardware, what does what, how all the components work in a computer, and what exactly they do. And in a society that's that our technology is increasing at such a rate that like people who fall behind in computer literacy and understanding what computers do and how they work, they're really going to fall behind in not only general productivity, but in the economy and in the workforce. And like even being able to build a computer and just like understand the absolute fundamentals gives you a leg up on the vast majority of people who don't specialize in, who aren't software engineers, who specialize in the field to begin with.
Yeah, I think that's very
true. And that gives you a huge advantage on like even being able to troubleshoot simple problems at your work, because you just know how to do it yourself.
Yeah, that's definitely.
You learn more. You don't just buy a product, open up the box, plug it in, and then
it just works.
Insert a disc and it works. Like the troubleshooting factor is like it's like a puzzle. I love solving puzzles. So like figuring out when I was building my PC and it wasn't working, it was frustrating, but like that's what I live for. I love like troubleshooting stuff and figuring out what the problem is. And fixing it.
That's another good point. Consoles might be simpler for just some people.
But I think he's making the case that it would be helpful for everyone to have this knowledge.
No, it would be. Correct. It would be honestly helpful.
And maybe the consoles are holding people back.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a good idea too.
Achieving their potential.
Because an Xbox nowadays
because of the ease of access.
Yeah. No having to install, no having to manage files, just pop a disc in, boom, you're good to go.
Yeah, and another thing is like, PC gaming at the highest level is quite expensive. However, for the cost of the brand new Xbox, the Xbox One X or whatever the one that's coming out is, it's retailing at like $499, right? For $499, you can build yourself with maybe one or two used parts. Or just kind of like more mid-tier pieces, you can build yourself a pretty solid computer for that money.
So that's the whole thing with the Xbox One X is they've, instead of coming up with like a specialized, hardware system for it, they've moved more towards mainstream parts, which has kind of allowed them to come up with this like shared ecosystem between the Windows 10 and Xbox, kind of getting back to where we started.
Yeah.
Because by going with more mainstream hardware, at a lower software level, they kind of perform or act the same way. So people don't have to do specialized things for them. And the reason that, you mentioned that you'd have to get a couple of used parts to get down to that price. Well, the reason that they can get the Xbox down to that price is because they mass produce millions of them.
Mm-hmm.
And if they were doing that with, the same level at just just a PC, instead of, putting this slightly specialized software for the Xbox on there, you could get those same price points.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I like where they're going with this, though. Just as a baseline, I do like what Microsoft is doing here. I think it'll be a net positive for them. And it'll just increase their dominance. You know what I mean? They've already got Windows, which most computers run on anyways, and then they've got the added player base of the Xbox, which is also pretty big. And I think I think they'll definitely continue to be at the top from here for the foreseeable future, especially if they can pull this shared space off.
Steam is getting a lot of power. I'm not gonna lie. Steam's
You
coming.
said Steam?
Steam, like,
No, it's fine, but I mean, I run Steam on a Windows computer.
yeah, but I've,
You know what I
I've
mean?
heard
Like,
about
it-
like the Steam console. I
Regardless, they're
think
getting paid off of that. But what thing?
they're making like a Steam console for Steam.
I'm pretty sure they already did that, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they actually did. I don't remember.
Chris, do
I
you
heard of
happen to
them. I know
So
that.
so what you guys are talking about is there's what's called the Steam machines, which
Yeah,
are
that's
just
what I've heard
which
of.
are PCs. They're just normal computers, but they run a specialized version of the Linux operating system called SteamOS, and
Mhm.
they've made it so that they started working with game developers so that instead of their games only being able to run on Windows, that they're also able to run on this specialized Linux operating system. And you can buy these pre-made PCs essentially with the Steam OS installed on them, and they're meant for gaming. So everything is focused around using the Steam platform to play games. It kind of makes it a console, but it's still a computer that you're using,
Yeah.
with a fully fledged computer operating system.
But do you think that this will be? Those came out like a year or two ago, though. I
It was
remember
a
the
couple of
machines.
years ago that they
And-
first started coming out, and they talked about them. But
Have they really picked up any steam?
No
Pun
pun intended.
intended.
so not really. I mean, there has been some pickup of it, but the thing is, when we're starting to get into the hardware and software level here when we talk about this, but
I know that people didn't like the controllers when they first came out.
so people didn't like the controllers, and a big part of it is just switching from a Windows to a Linux operating system. As far as graphics cards goes, is they're essentially you understand like the concept of a driver, right? You put something new in your computer, you have to install some kind of driver or update a driver,
Correct.
Yeah.
so your computer knows how it works. Well, on a Steam machine, it's a completely different operating system. So these companies that make graphic cards have to go and redesign these drivers to work on this new operating system. So the problem that they have with the Steam machine is everyone develops for Windows because that's what 95% of the normal computing population, if we're talking home PCs, use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone already uses Windows. All these graphics card companies make their drivers and optimize them for Windows. They don't want to go spend all this extra time for this other operating system that not many people use.
It's not gonna make money. Exactly.
Yeah, and that's
So-
just a
so
perpetuating
that's why-
Core
system.
people are going to be using Linux.
So I mean, some games are supported on the Steam machine and everything in Steam OS, but I think it would take a huge investment or change on Valve's part, who makes Steam, to get these companies to actually invest more in a non-Windows based gaming computer.
Why
Yeah.
can't Steam try to create like a business, proprietor, or like a
Incentive.
like a business partnership more so. I don't want to say abandon Linux, but if they could come up with a deal with Windows, why is it okay? My question is, why did Steam favor Linux over Windows?
Well, so they wanted to make a computer that you could, put standard computer parts in, but have it be gaming focused like a console is. Well, with Windows, Windows is fully owned by Microsoft, where a Linux-based operating system, at least at the base level, you can take all that software starting for free and customize.
It's open source
because it's an
Yep.
open source. The Linux
Yeah.
kernel is open source.
Oh,
So they were
really? I
able-
didn't know that.
They were able to take it and modify it as they needed to get it to run more like a console, free, and to get the free software base. Whereas
So they don't
Really,
technically have a
what you're talking about, Zach, is the
partnership with
Xbox,
Linux.
because the Xbox takes the Microsoft code base and made it into a gaming system. They just went down a different path than what Steam is trying to do, or Valve.
But so Valve didn't technically get a partnership with Linux. They're just using.
Yeah, because Linux itself, this is a whole nother conversation at a software level, but it is at the base level. Linux is open source, and people can take it and modify it as they want.
Okay. Oh, I'm learning new stuff today. I didn't know that.
That's one thing I like about you, Chris. I always feel smarter talking to you. After talking to you, I mean.
All right, because I was gonna say that's kind of a put down. Oh, I feel so smart whenever I talk to him.
Yeah, you said that like good intentions, but yes, it said it a little bit
Off, which totally changed the meaning.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my word slipped there.
That was a pretty good discussion with gaming news. That's all we've got, right?
Yep. And like I always say, folks, remember, this is our opinion. And if you don't like our opinion, then I frankly don't give a damn. Well, I want to say go fuck yourself.
Not that we don't give a damn. If no, I think a better mission would be like if you don't, agree with our opinion, then drop us a line, and we'd be more and we'd be more than willing to discuss your opinion with you and debate over it.
That is very true. I am a huge fan of debate, so yeah. Let me know what you believe. I'm willing to change my opinion.
Yeah, present us with what you got.
Just give me some evidence to support your position.
Yeah, because if you think about it, if you can't flex your opinion, then what does that make you?
Nothing. I don't know. A robot?
I was gonna say like a Republican, but
now we're above that. We're above fucking pedantic political.
I don't know. It's nice to stoop low every now and then. We are always done dirty. Somebody's got to get done dirty every once in a while.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to sports news. This week, we had the first NFL preseason game. It was the Cowboys versus the Cardinals in the Hall of Fame game. And the boys took it home. Doesn't really matter, though. No starters played for either team. The Cowboys won in a 2018 victory. But the most important thing that I have to say is on Saturday after the game, which was Thursday, they actually had the induction ceremony where the 2007 Hall of Fame class was inducted. And
2007 or 17?
17.
Okay.
This year's induction class.
I didn't know if it was like a decade away, so they did a special segment on the 2007 guys because it's been 10 years since it's been inducted. I didn't know or if you just misspoke.
No, I thought I said 17. But these are the class here. The class of 2017 consists of kicker Morton Anderson, running back Terrell Davis, safety Kenny Easley, owner, president, and general manager of the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones, defensive end Jason Taylor, running back LaDainian Tomlinson, and quarterback Kurt Warner. That's a pretty star-studded Hall of Fame class. I mean, we've got Super Bowl winners up and down this.
Got Kurt Warner.
So when is Rich Gannon getting in when is he getting his gold jacket?
I don't know, man. I don't know if he ever will.
You don't think so?
I don't know. You a huge fan of Rich Gannon? What's?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Rich Gannon. He was back when I actually did watch football.
That your Patriots screwed him over?
No, I did not. I'm not a big football guy, but I do have it once more.
One was against the Raiders.
I actually do have a small that's a sports topic, and I didn't really do too much research into this.
Rich Gannon's doing good on XML or XM NFL
Radio.
Yep, he's on Sirius.
That's good.
Jaromir Jagr in the NHL remains unsigned.
Really?
Really. People are, for the most part, the consensus is people are too afraid to take a gamble on him.
He's older,
he's getting so old, but his statistics still prove him to be on an efficient player. He's definitely not the Jaromir Jagr he was 10, 15 years ago, but he's still Jaromir Jagr. And there are like Chris Chelios that played for the Detroit Red Wings. I'm pretty sure he is the second, if not the first, oldest. He has a record for being the oldest person in the NHL, and he played for the Detroit Red Wings and has multiple Stanley Cups with them. So I think that basically all of the major NHL teams are afraid to take Jaromir onto their contract because of salary caps, plus they're afraid of his age and skill ability at his age. I think it's kind of ridiculous. This is Jaromir Jagr you're talking about. Like,
well, the question is, what does he want? What does he want in his contract? How much is he willing to take? Because I'm sure there's plenty of clubs out there who would love to take that veteran experience and knowledge and use that to coach up their younger players, like perhaps the Buffalo Sabres with their young stars would enjoy to have a journeyman who's been out there, who's played for so long and can coach them up on the sidelines.
Jaromir Jagr on the Sabres, that would be something else. That'd be interesting.
That's almost a disrespect to call Jagr a journeyman, though.
Yeah, I take that back. But I'm saying a veteran. Veteran is the word. When you've got an experienced veteran, it's extremely valuable in all professional sports leagues.
Yeah, it's always that age factor, though. But I'm not a big hockey guy, so I won't know. Like, what would you say is like hockey old? Because every sport has a different old or
hockey old can get
40s is like I'm pretty sure 40, 44, 45. I have to fact check myself, but I'm pretty sure that the oldest player to consecutively play in the NHL was Chris Chelios, who retired from the Detroit Red Wings after the most recent Stanley Cup loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins after they beat the Penguins in the previous year. He retired at, I believe, the age of 44 or 45, which makes him either the first or second oldest player in NHL history. The next play, and Jaromir Jagr, I believe, is either 42 or 43.
Okay.
But I mean, you don't even have to give him any actual time on the ice.
So this is
just to have him on the roster would be valuable.
So this is interesting here. I just pulled up a list. I just Googled this list here, and it says the oldest players. I'm seeing someone here named Gordie Howe.
Yeah, Gordie.
Yeah, Gordie Howe's my favorite retro hockey player. In fact, I plan on purchasing a jersey of his very soon.
I was actually thinking about getting a Gretzky jersey. I was going to get a LA Kings Gretzky jersey.
Why would you get a Kings jersey?
If you're gonna get a Gretzky jersey, dude, you gotta
Oilers,
get
bro.
You gotta get an Oilers jersey.
Let's not pick on T and his lack of hockey knowledge.
Speaking of people bringing,
I like the colors too. I like the colors of the LA Kings too. The black and purple. I
feel you.
Talking about people bringing in veterans, have you guys seen news about the Miami Dolphins today?
Yes. Yeah, we did. Jay Cutler, we talked about it.
Jay Cutler on a 1-year deal.
I think it's preposterous for them to not go with Kaepernick. I think Kaepernick is better at this today. I think he's a better quarterback and has a much higher upside. He can run the football as well as pass.
Is Cutler their answer to Brady?
I can kind of.
But the issue here isn't the skill of the player, though. When it comes to the whole Kaepernick thing, it comes down to bad PR.
Well,
even though I don't agree, I agree with Kaepernick's. Like, he should be allowed to protest, but the fact that that's stopping him from getting a job is absolutely preposterous.
But even looking past the bad PR,
Kaepernick's not going to come in and sign a 1-year deal. The Dolphins are wholly committed to Tannehill in the long run, and we know that. And they wanted someone to come in for this year since
since he was hurt.
Not that I don't think I definitely agree with you that Kaepernick would be a better quarterback, but would he take this 1-year deal? Would it be worth them, trying to invest some actual time and money into Kaepernick and look into him in a longer run?
I was wondering, have Buffalo considered Colin Kaepernick? Yeah.
They did earlier on in the offseason, but I think they've backed off.
In fact, I think
You're
it would
sticking with
be
Tyrod?
almost a noble cause to take on Kaepernick, just give him a chance and be like, it'd
solidarity.
it's like a stand your ground. It's like, you know what, we're gonna be the organization that puts an end to this bullshit, and we're gonna go in there and we're gonna be like, look, we're gonna hire him for his credentials, and fuck the press, fuck the bad PR, and we're gonna hire him because he's a fantastic quarterback.
A football player.
He's getting
Because
screwed
of how
on
he
Baltimore.
competes.
Like,
That's what we're saying, is that these organizations are literally giving up the potential of having a good quarterback because they're scared of what could happen. And to what you said, Zach, I wholly believe that this problem will not solve itself until some big name white players advocate for Kaepernick. Until we have somebody like a Tom Brady, a J.J. Watt say, you know what, I stand with Kaepernick and I believe in his message and I believe that what he's doing is right, we'll never see, the actual problem that he's protesting, which nobody wants to talk about, be resolved, but also his unemployment will not resolve until. And this whole saga is just really annoying because under all this, we're talking about Kaepernick, but the whole point is that he didn't want it to be about him. He wants the actual problem that he's taking a kneel for to be fixed. You know what I mean? He wanted to bring light to the issue, yet that's not what's happening.
Yeah, and then it's
what
the
up?
thing is, a vast
welcome
majority.
to the podcast.
It seems, unfortunately, and this may be stereotyping just slightly, but I feel like there's a huge section of the NFL who, they're kind of like, backwater, deep red state kind of people. And they're all going to be like, they're all like the, support the troops type, blah, 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 ungrateful bastard kind of people. And that's what's holding them back.
Yeah, and
But the thing is that they've added all of that to him. He has never said that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're all ascribing that to him on their own. That is not at all what he's saying.
I agree. I know 100%, but I'm just stating the fact that that's those type of people are like propagating it. It's propaganda. They're propagating propaganda against him, and they're basically like putting words in his mouth or putting unfounded meaning to his actions.
Yeah,
but I think they're doing it
right
purposely
not to stand
because
up
they
for the
don't
American
want to talk
flag.
about the issue.
Yeah, they don't.
So you are recording?
Yes, we are recording a podcast. Gotcha. Welcome to the What a Week podcast. This is our friend Trinos. Would you like to say anything?
Not really. I'm still at work, technically. Work until midnight.
Okay, well, if you have anything to add, you can add.
I'll just stay in the background until you guys are done.
Yeah. I mean, if you would like to say anything, you're more than welcome.
This is a discussion.
But as you were saying,
that was pretty much the point I was making.
Yeah, but I think it's really they're straw manning him and trying to make him out to be a bad person because they don't actually want to solve the problem that he's bringing up. And
Correct.
the fact that they don't
They
want
wanna
to
sweep it
solve
under the
that,
rug.
yeah, the fact that they don't want to shows me that they are committed to the people who play in their league. When the NFL is comprised by a majority of African Americans, and yet you're not willing to go out there and protect them when they're out on the streets just being civilians, I don't see how that's a tenable situation. How you can expect these people to entertain you and put their health on the line.
Yeah, there was
And-
there was just a medical study released from a Boston University a neuroscientist who found that out of, I believe it was
Around 111.
Yes, it was 111 post-mortem pro football player brains over the past X amount of years. She found only one that did not display pathological symptoms of degenerative brain disease.
Wow.
Yeah. I wish I had the study on my hand. I can send it to you, but yeah, it's
That's
an
well over
astronomical.
90% of players are
It was
basically looking at. So this is like CTE symptoms, right?
It was-
Yeah, CTE,
Yep.
exactly. Yes. So basically,
that's
the
that's
thing
preposterous.
is that if you play football, you are gonna get CTE.
Basically,
That's
and
kind of
that's
the takeaway here.
this is what we're looking at, and yet the NFL is the only league that doesn't have guaranteed contracts. So that not only can these people not feel safe that the league has their back out when they're just living their lives, they also have to know that the league doesn't want to guarantee that they'll be financially secure as well. I don't see how they can get away with this, and it's just
People will make the argument about being financially secure. I mean, in Colin Kaepernick's career, he has made enough money to live for the rest of his life.
yeah.
He
But
doesn't-
what
he doesn't
about
need
that
money.
third string defensive lineman who doesn't have a deal with Beats by Dre, who still doesn't have a guaranteed contract, and if he breaks his ankle in practice and can't play football again, he might not be able to make a living from that point. And I understand that he has to take some responsibility for that, but the NFL should also take some responsibility in this, because you're employing him to put himself in that line of duty, you know what I mean, to be exposed to these kinds of adverse consequences.
But to devil's advocate you, he doesn't have to.
Oh, I know, but
I'm sure he has
they want
marketable
somebody
skills.
to do it, right?
Yeah, but I'm sure he has marketable skills that he could use outside of the NFL.
No, I know. That's why I said I think they both have responsibility. The man has responsibility to make sure that he gets a degree or has some trade that he can use after football is over. But while he's an employee under the NFL, I think the NFL should be doing their due diligence to make sure that these people are taken care of.
Yes, when you frame it in that light, I agree 100%. If he is currently in the NFL and playing, then he should have a tighter contract to protect him against medical.
I mean, I'm
situations
sure
like that.
they get the best health care they can.
Isn't that what a union
But-
is for, though? Sorry if you've already
Yes,
brought
there
that
is
up.
there is an NFL
But
union, but
I was unaware there
players
was one.
union. Yeah,
The
there's a players
The
association.
players union, the players union
Is supposed
carries
to
the
fight for
responsibility
those rights.
of fighting for insurance and all that type of shit as like a collective.
No,
like,
that's not really what we're talking about. Though.
Okay.
I'm talking more about like guaranteed contracts. Like the
Right.
NFL will fight.
contracts go through the players union though.
Yes, but the
Most
NFL is
organized
also
sports.
arbitrating
Gotcha.
on the other side. They don't want to give them guaranteed rights because that means because the NFL is trying to protect the owners, whereas the Players Association is trying to protect the players. So the NFL is going to do anything they can to not make the owners have to pay these players guaranteed contracts, because if a guy gets hurt and he has $30 million guaranteed and he only played a half a season out of his contract, they're going to have to pay him the rest of that $30 million. You know what I mean? And they don't want to have to do that.
That sounds roughly. I know this is totally different, but it sounds roughly like almost like an Aaron Hernandez type situation where like he had this contract. Yes, he broke it, but like there's still legal proceedings going on about how it should the Patriots and the NFL, you know, pay his
have to honor his contract because of the Massachusetts state law that says that if you become deceased during an appeal trial, then whatever you are appealing immediately gets thrown out, which basically made him an innocent man. So technically the NFL and the Patriots owe him his money, or owe his family his money. And actually, the Massachusetts high courts have actually they're working on a bill that says they're trying to like override that so that's not a thing. Yeah, so that's not a thing in the future. I think in the future maybe that should be the way it is, but as it stands now, they should be legally.
Yes, they should use this. Yeah, they should use this case. I mean, as shitty as it is, they should use this case as a benchmark, pay it out, and then use this as a citation in court.
Yeah,
why it shouldn't happen again in the future.
Because I do think it's wrong to hold the Patriots accountable for that, but at the same time, if that's the way the law is, we have to follow the laws that we have at the moment. But that's just basically how I feel about the Colin Kaepernick thing, is that as far as the guaranteed contracts, though, almost every other major sport has some guaranteed money. Like baseball, I'm pretty sure their contracts are completely guaranteed. So like you have to give them whatever you say you're going to give them. But like basketball, they have like big contracts. They'll have a $200 million contract, but that's all guaranteed. But in football, they'll give you some guaranteed money, but the whole thing is not guaranteed. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
that's basically where we leave it here. I just think they need to put a little more, give these people a little more financial security, especially knowing how many professional sports athletes end up going broke after they're done.
So kind of to play devil's advocate here, and it's not really even a good case for devil's advocate, is do you think, because NFL players compared to other sports don't get paid as much, but that's partially just due to the size of the team. A lot of players in it.
Yeah.
But do you think that players would be willing to take less money to get a guaranteed contract,
the guarantee,
rather than keeping these incentive-based contracts that
probably not
pay out more money?
I don't know. I think they might, because of the nature of the game of football. You're not guaranteed the next down. You know what I mean? You could have a career-ending injury, and it's far more likely to come in football than I think you probably would in basketball or so. And I think the large majority of players would support that. It definitely depends on where they would set that benchmark at. Like if they were to take, say, a 25% decrease in overall pay to have it all guaranteed, they might.
Because like I said,
50 or more, maybe not.
Like I said, being devil's advocate here is the team. The being an NFL team is a business, and you're taking risks, and they don't want to take on the full risk of giving someone, a $20 million a year contract where it's all guaranteed. Because if that person goes out, the business is still paying them. Yeah. But if they were lower prices, they might be willing to give.
I agree.
Fully guaranteed
I think the players should make that compromise, and so should the
But are the higher echelon the higher echelon
Players.
players that who do really, I mean, from an entertainment perspective,
They're the ones who
they
are
do
bringing in
deserve
the money.
Yeah, they do deserve the money that the third, fourth, fifth, stringer Patriots are getting paid because of the fame of Tom Brady. Sure, they may be skilled, but it's Tom Brady and Gronkowski and like Amendola and the real high tier players that they're the ones that are bringing the notoriety to the team that are even getting the lower guys paid in the first place.
Yeah.
Do you think,
so-
do you
so
think
just-
that those top players would be willing to take the cut for the benefit of the littler guys?
So
Sometimes I don't know if that's true.
kind of on that topic, I mean, I don't know if they would, but the thing is, a lot of the players already do things that kind of combat that. So it's like just in the kind of culture of the NFL, when teams are on the road and stuff, the quarterbacks actually, pay for a lot of things for their team members because the quarterbacks are the best
making
best-
the most
making
money.
the most money. But part of the culture of the NFL is the people who make more money kind of take care of their teammates when they're on the road. It may not be huge things, millions of dollars, but they'll pay for the team meal or they'll give their team members gifts and stuff. I mean, it's kind of you got to remember these guys are, well, they're not all friends, but they work together and they're, this is a very
They're all
physical-
working together toward one
The
goal.
NFL is not a
Yeah.
solo act. That is for damn sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they all do kind of take care of each other in that aspect. But would they be willing to give up millions of dollars? That's a completely different question.
Yeah, I think it's a good question, but I think it's one that really hasn't been asked. Or if it has, I feel like it's been drowned out by the NFL. And I don't think the NFL wants that to happen, to be completely honest. They don't want the liability of having to pay these players. Because do you think it's a player's fault if they get injured? Should they technically
Sometimes it
be
is.
punished if
If
get
it
injured?
is their fault.
Yeah, but
But
I'm
that-
saying, how do you determine that? Can you?
That's like
Should-
that's something like an insurance level, like
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
like insurance risk assessment type stuff.
and in
I
those
don't know if
contracts
the
too, they
first
have
thing
like
about,
rules
insurance.
about what you can do. Like there's some sports and the contracts where you
The proper
you're not
answer is
allowed to do
probably-
certain things.
Well, I'm saying if a guy's going skydiving and he's a quarterback and he breaks both of his ankles on the landing, then yes, I understand them not wanting to pay out the rest of the contract.
If that's a
I'm
clause
saying
in there,
if he's hurt on the field in a game,
Then they should be fully in
yeah, that's what
The
I'm
proper
saying.
answer
This
is probably somewhere in the middle, though, right? Like where you get the player and the team owner come up with a percentage that you get, regardless if you get injured or not.
well,
And then if you get
But is
injured,
that
you don't
really
get the rest
right
of it.
answer, or is that just?
I
You get
think
the
so because it's a
guarantee.
compromise. Right.
that's why you
It's
have
a,
the guarantee.
it's a guarantee, but it's not a guarantee between like for the entire contract. The right answer is probably somewhere in the middle. Like
I think there's
It-
injury clauses
it
in
protects,
contracts.
like it protects both parties. Like the player still gets some portion of money if they get injured, and the organization doesn't get fucked for the entire contract.
But I'm saying the injury might not be the player's fault. If the player is just listening to what the coaches tell him to do, he's listening to what the front office is telling him to do, and he gets hurt, I don't see how he can be held responsible for doing what he's told. You know what I mean? He's running the plays that he's told to run, and it could turn out to be bad for him, and not just in a financial sense. We're talking the rest of these people's lives. Like, I don't think you were here, Jim, when Zach had mentioned that study. They had done a study on the brains of NFL players, and it was like, what was the percentage? Only
it
one.
was 100. It's a Boston University study, and the only reason why I'm relatively versed in it is because I hear it often. Living in Boston myself, is that out of 11 out of 111 post-mortem professional football player brains that were studied, only one did not show any kind of pathological symptoms of CTE after even, like, I think the minimum career span in the NFL of the brains that were studied was like 5 years. So 5 years in the NFL is pretty much, unless you're maybe a kicker, guarantees that I don't want to say guarantees, but statistically you are going to develop symptoms of CTE if you play professional football. And it's a neurodegenerative disease. And you're pretty much almost guaranteed to get it if you play in the NFL.
So I have like the article. It says like, okay, they had like 202 donated brains, and they found it in 87% of all the 202 brains had like some sign of brain damage, and these were donated NFL brains. 202, 87%.
That's such a high statistic. I know that the players are taking on this risk when they go into the business, but I feel that the NFL has been shady at best in these proceedings because they've been trying to stop these studies from necessarily happening. You know what I mean? Like, they don't want it to get out that if you play football, you're 87% likely to have severe brain defects. You know what I mean? Like, that's a serious thing. You can't just hide that from the players. And I know a lot of these players still will play because they've got mouths to feed and whatnot, and they love the game, but I think the NFL is also responsible for that because they're making billions of dollars off of this pain. You know what I mean?
So just to clarify what T said about the study is, so there's 202 brains overall from football players, but of the NFL players, it was 110 out of 100. And
okay, so like there might have been like a college.
So there was some high school and college players examined, and between all of the brains, including high school and college players, it was
87.
It was 177 of 202.
I mean, that shows you that the sport
and at the
alone
pro level,
is,
at the pro level, it was 111, and then one brain did not show signs or pathological signs of CTE.
I mean, that almost makes me happy to know that I only played 1 year of football.
Like,
because I mean, that's showing anyone who plays football at any level, you're 87% likely to have this happen. And anyone that makes it to the pro level, you're almost guaranteed to get this. We just need the studies we just need the time to have the studies come out. You know what I mean? We need transparency.
yeah, if you think about it too, if you play a sport where it's like 200-pound men colliding into you, like, what kind of do you expect to happen?
No, I mean, they do expect that, but the NFL has to take the necessary action to try to reduce as much of those collisions as they can, which it doesn't seem like they are. They're making it a very pass-heavy league, which makes the games more exciting, but that's more snaps a game. You know what I mean? That's more plays per game, more opportunities to get hit. And they've changed the rules to make it a more exciting brand of football, where maybe that's in the league's best interest, but not in the player's best interest.
I like to see the same stats applied to like the NHL, because I know in football
I'm almost certain they've got the same problem going.
Because I would imagine so, because I know that like a football player, like a 280-pound linebacker hitting you at full force if you're a quarterback, that has more kinetic energy in that, the energy transaction, or at least the same as a 38 caliber bullet hitting you. The only difference is that all of that energy is
Spread out among the
spread out
surface area.
over exactly. And that's an insane amount of kinetic energy, and these people are receiving these hits multiple times a game, let alone I don't even want to know how many times, if you would count, like per season, per year, has got to be.
And we're thinking quarterbacks who only get hit or sacked tops 6-7 times a game. Imagine what's happening to these linemen who are literally colliding full force every play.
Yeah, it's their position, it's their job to hit people as hard as they can. But that kinetic energy, what is it? Is it the Newton's second law? Equal, or every force has an equal and opposite force. So, every time these linemen are smacking a player, they are also receiving that same amount of force back onto them.
Yeah, and I just think there needs to be more emphasis on player care and security. That was a pretty good discussion. Anybody else got anything else to tie that up?
In terms of sports, I think I'm cashed out. Other than if anyone wants to talk about Usain Bolt, but I'm not too big onto that.
I mean, I'm a huge track fan.
I believe his final. It's his final race at 30s coming up.
Well, he just raced in his supposed final world championships and took an L in the 100-meter dash,
which he has been dominant in for the past.
I'm pretty sure he was on like an 87 race win streak as well.
Yeah, like 3 Olympics. So the past 12 years, he has been the dominant runner in the 100 relay, the 200 relay, the 200, and then the 100
There's
meter
no
sprint,
200 meter relay.
Is there not?
But nah, that's more like high school. But yeah, he does compete in the 4x1, the 1 and the 2. I still think it's gonna be a long shot for anybody to beat him in the 2. He's the best 200-meter runner ever by far, and I don't see anybody beating him until he retires there, but that remains to be seen. But the 1, it is still surprising that he lost that. I did look at his reaction time, and he had a slow reaction time to the gun in this race compared to Justin Gatlin, who won the race. And forgot who got second, but they had a faster reaction time too. You just got. You got to react to that the high top speed. We're talking about world class guys. You make any mistake, and anybody could beat you. But let's move on to some film news. Anything that's film, movies, animation. I've got a story. There were 2 attacks on HBO this week that saw one get information about actor salaries and other personal information, and another done by a separate group or entity that also hacked HBO in India, and they stole and leaked an episode of Game of Thrones early, among other episodes of shows. What do you guys think about these leaks?
Leaks are definitely not okay. That's my first statement.
And in today's society, it's inevitable.
Yeah.
It's completely on the company, and it's not. The viewer should have the option to watch it leaked because it's the company's responsibility, even though it sucks for them.
I don't know if I put it all on the company because the party that hacked them also has to have some responsibility.
Yeah, you're not technically supposed to do that.
Right.
You're not just allowed to if you can hack something, you just get it.
Yeah, hack the Pentagon.
But I'm saying having something early is only to the benefit of the consumer, so. So
Yeah,
completely on the company.
I mean,
if
I get that.
any leaks happen like that. That's just my opinion.
No, I don't think it's wrong for the consumer to watch it if they can. I mean,
I don't.
I fucking enjoyed watching Game of Thrones 2 days early. Are you kidding me? Even though it was a shit quality? Hell yeah.
you should still support the.
The show.
Yeah,
The
I'm
actual
gonna
release.
probably watch it tonight.
I mean, I still pay for HBO now.
Yeah,
I'm still gonna
Yeah,
watch
I
it
mean,
again.
as well.
It's not like I'm not gonna watch it next week too.
Yeah,
I do know, like, I think in Canada that you can stream all you can, but you just can't download is not okay. Which I could understand.
well, it's the fact that you're not downloading it from the actual proprietor and producer of it. That's the problem.
So
That's
I mean,
what
it's
they're worried about.
it's a weird case with HBO. Well, for us, because all of us here pay for HBO, but it's the fact that if everything got leaked, people wouldn't have to pay for HBO at all. And it's a weird case of
Yeah.
HBO because it's not like HBO is selling advertisement and stuff other than for their own products.
Yeah, that's very
but-
true.
But HBO is a subscription service, so they make all of their money off of you paying them to watch their content. It's not like they're selling advertisements. But overall, I understand the issue with it just due to the fact that there's definitely people out there that don't pay for HBO and still watch all the episodes through some illegal means.
And I think we're all in agreement in saying that that's wrong, right?
yeah, it's not okay. No.
Well, does anybody have the opinion that it should be open? Like, does
I always
anybody
just-
have a dissenting view?
Here's my other idea too. I don't know why.
I
Whoever
mean, I've
made
always
copy
been a
and
pirate,
paste,
so
whoever made like copy and paste, like why would you do that? Like that's just why. Because that seems like where the whole problem starts is just like, because like what is file like? Because I always, as a kid, I always think like file sharing like. So it's not okay to make a copy of the file and send it to someone else. Like I don't understand. Why would you let me do that if you don't want me to do that?
Because that's one less person who could.
and that's just
fact,
how
by-
technology works as well. Like you can't just strip someone the ability to just record information because they're going to record.
You want to make
media.
money of it, off of it.
Not even that, but like for it to be possible for anyone to be able to make. Okay, so the hacking is overboard. I agree.
Plus, what if you
But
don't actually make a profit off the file?
Yeah,
You're not making any money. But you're taking.
but neither is
Yeah.
the person. You're taking away from the profits of the individual who did create and distribute the information. But if you wanted to stop people from like say buying an album, burning it onto a disc, and then giving it to their friends, or just sharing that content with them, then you'd have to completely eliminate the ability for the individual to even make copies of anything to begin with, and that's just that's a basic computing process. Like
Or
you
is
can't
that
just take that away.
even just not with computers? That's just infringing on what I believe is a fundamental right to do what you want with your property. Once you buy it, you should be able to do with it what you want.
No, I understand. That makes some sense there.
I understand not playing it, like using it and then playing it at a movie theater and making money off of it after you bought it, and just assuming that you can now make a profit off of their work. I understand that, but if you want to give it to your friends so that they can also watch it, I really don't see a problem with that.
How about expensive computer programs?
I don't know the process that you'd have to share that. I don't know.
Create copy and paste, I think.
Yeah, but a lot of those programs require keys to get them to function, so I don't know how to
And
get
that's where
past
key
that.
gens come in, but
Yeah, but I don't know anything about that. I don't
And
know how
that
to do
is,
it.
I mean, it's illegal. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, I mean that comes into the whole concept of DRM and people being for or against DRM. But the reason that stuff like DRM exists is because
Do you have a definition of DRM?
digital rights management.
which is it's kind of the generic term for any technology that's used to protect exactly what we're talking about, is redistribution of digital technology or video or something like that. So, like for an example, going to video games, like a lot of the new Assassin's Creed games, you actually need to be online to play the single player for them to validate that you have a valid copy of the game.
I think that's preposterous.
So that you can't just copy and paste it, and like T was saying, and give it to somebody else to play. Because the thing is, most people end up breaking the DRM on stuff, and you can always pirate video games. But the thing is, because people do this so frequently, it's the companies have implemented it, and obviously something like that is going too far. But that's a whole other concept of, do you believe that companies should implement things like that to protect their rights, and how far should they be able to go, or how far should they go to protect their media?
Definitely a tough situation, and our generation is caught in the crosshairs of that. I think a lot of this will have to be settled in our lifetimes for there to be a mutual understanding among consumers and producers of this stuff going forward. You know what I mean? We need to come to an agreement that's good for both parties, much like what we were talking about with sports.
Okay. Well, I got another story here that's a little it's a Netflix related story here. The third season of Voltron actually got released on Friday, which was
like the original Voltron or the newer?
Yeah, the newer one, which is really actually pretty good. I like it a lot. It's like it's from like the team Avatar team, like who did Avatar: The Last Airbender. So
it's bad, is what you're saying.
Ooh. You didn't like The Last Airbender, really?
Yeah, so it's bad, is what you're saying.
I'm saying it's good. What did you like about the not?
That's a very controversial opinion to have.
Okay.
What did you like about The Last Airbender?
I think the question would be, what did I like? I don't know. I just didn't really dig it as much as everybody else did. I was totally trolling and saying that it was bad, but I'm just not the biggest fan.
Yeah. Okay. This is like the second time I've seen like Voltron taken on by an American team. There was another TV show they had on Nickelodeon with Voltron, and they had a theme song that was. Remember that. Yeah, the theme song was written by Swiss Beats.
Was it a rap intro?
Yeah, it was.
Because we know the rap intros are some of the worst. At least worst received by fans.
Yeah, it's
like the infamous One Piece 4 Kids opening song.
Yeah. And anime, we've always said anime intros do make a difference of whether you watch an anime, because a good intro for some reason.
Yeah, it'll get me sucked in a lot easier. Was that all we got for films?
Well, Dark Tower also released this weekend. I haven't had a chance to see it yet.
Neither have I. I really want to, though.
So never mind. I'm not going to make a comment due to certain members of this group not liking information divulged. So I will keep it to myself.
Okay.
Well, I mean, are you going to give away the plot, or
no? So
I wasn't. I was just saying that.
I was going to go say that I haven't seen it yet, but the reviews have been very mixed, to say the least.
Really?
Because essentially they're saying that, like I said, I want to see it. I'm a fan of the books. I'm currently reading them. But people are saying that the filmmakers couldn't really decide, do they want this to be a film for everybody, or do they want this to be a film for Dark Tower fans?
And do they think that they were unsuccessful in both fronts, or?
So supposedly Stephen King himself has kind of given a thumbs up to the movie, saying that he was happy with the results. But, you know, there's other people that, you know a lot about the Dark Tower series that it kind of, in some aspects, they, you know, kind of go in or put in little Easter eggs for people, fans of the series, or go into explaining it. In other parts, they just kind of pass over and have changed to an extent that people were unhappy with.
Oh, wow.
But the thing that you
I
got to
don't
remember
find that
is
surprising.
that this is supposed to be a sequel. That is a tiny spoiler. I'm sorry if I spoiled anything for anybody.
No, I think that's something people should know if they're getting into it. I mean, it does seem a little weird to start with a sequel. Maybe the production company thought it would be an easier way to get into it if they started at this point in the series.
So, if that's a sequel, what's the name of the first book?
Well, no.
Well, the first book
that's a whole nother story. Do we want to start going into how the lore of Dark Tower and the story and everything? Because that's a longer explanation.
That's a much longer
Okay,
explanation.
okay.
But the first book is called The Gunslinger, right?
So the entire series is called The Dark Tower, but the first book is called The Gunslinger.
I think they just went with the Dark Tower just because it had more of a name recognition.
Oh, well, definitely.
I mean, that's why Game of Thrones is Game of Thrones, even though it's a book.
It's a better title than
A Song of Ice and Fire. I don't know. Would you? Let me see. Hey, it's HBO. It's time to watch a Song
I think
of
less
Ice.
less people would be apt to watch it.
Same show.
If they
Definitely.
knew from the beginning that it was going to be a fantasy.
Matter of fact, that
magic and shit.
Yeah. Okay.
I think less people would be likely to watch it.
In other movie news, Halle Berry's version of Taken has released in theaters.
What's the name of the
Kidnapped?
Well, I haven't seen any promotional thing about it besides a poster of it at the movie theater, but I really have no interest in seeing that, to be honest.
Also, Detroit dropped as well, I believe.
And what's that? I haven't heard anything about that either.
We were having this discussion a while ago. I think, Chris, it was a story of Detroit and that cop, I think. Let me look.
What cop?
It was like a cop who got shot, or it was like not. It was a cop who was going back in his car, and he's like, "Oh, hey guys, I'm."
Oh, the one about the chief.
The Detroit riots. I was actually just telling the real story of that tonight.
Yeah, we had talked about it with T was there when we were all talking about that.
Yeah.
But okay, I didn't know they were making a movie about that.
Yeah, me neither.
Well, this is apparently about. It's actually, according to the baseline summary here, it's about the Algiers motel incident.
Correct. Yes, that's what started the 1960 whatever Detroit riots.
Okay.
Yeah. So, are there any reviews? Like, what are they saying about it? You got positive reviews? Or?
Let's take a look here. Alright, so. Wow, we've got an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, certified fresh.
Oh, well, I guess it's doing all right so far. I might have to look into that because I don't know anything about that whole incident besides what you had told me. So it might actually be worth looking into. So is that all we got for films?
Yeah, that's about as major as I got this week for stories I've been just looking into.
All right. And on to our last segment of the day. We have professional wrestling news. Unfortunately, again, this week I wasn't able to watch the main Raw and SmackDown shows, but I did see some news about one of my favorite former tag teams, Enzo Amore and Big Cass are both getting heat backstage, but it looks like Enzo's could get burnt. Enzo Amore and Big Cass were one of the most popular tag teams in the WWE recently, and they had a falling out over the last couple months in storyline. However, backstage, they're both getting heat, which in professional wrestling terms would mean people are angry at them over separate things. Big Cass is getting heat because apparently he's a big Donald Trump supporter, and a lot of the other workers aren't a big fan of his opinions on politics. And I'm honestly surprised. With him being a New Yorker, you just usually imprint your own values on people from same area that you're from, and New York seems to be overwhelmingly more aggressive than most places, so you wouldn't expect that necessarily. But the big thing with that is that it might not turn out to be that bad for him as far as the company is considered, because Linda McMahon, Vince McMahon, the owner of WWE, his wife is in Trump's cabinet. So it might actually turn out to be in his favor if he shows that he's actually in line with the administration that employs the boss's wife. But Enzo, however, has been getting a lot of hate because with him being a smaller guy, there's not much thought that he could be a top performer in the company. And he recently got kicked off of the talent bus by Roman Reigns because he was talking too loud on his phone. And apparently he's bragging a lot to the other wrestlers that he's like partied with The Weeknd. So it's not looking good for my man Enzo, which is really unfortunate because to me he's one of the most interesting characters in the brand, and it's clear that he has some of the most popular gimmicks in the company right now. Every time he comes out, the crowd goes crazy, and it'll be sad if he gets relegated to NXT or 205 Live now that his tag team with Big Cass is no longer together. I hope for Zach's sake, for one, are you going this Monday or next Monday?
The 14th.
So that's next a week from now. I hope you get to see an Enzo Amore introduction, because when he comes out, you're going to get a huge what's called crowd pop, which is where when somebody comes out, the crowd explodes. And,
he gets a Shinsuke Nakamura once. He gets to see.
He wouldn't, because he's going to Raw.
Oh, I thought he was going to SummerSlam.
No, he's going to Raw. And Shinsuke is signed to SmackDown.
Oh, I thought if he was at SummerSlam, then yeah, he would get the.
Oh, SummerSlam would be a hell of a. But
So I did.
Yeah, I hope you do get to see an Enzo intro, because it's definitely one of the most amazing things to see in the WWE right now. People love him. And I hope that keeps him in good standing with the company, besides what he's doing outside of the ring.
So,
but you were saying?
Yeah, there's another story here. It's about Shinsuke Nakamura. He had messed up. They had a botched reverse exploder on, and John Cena landed on the back of his neck really bad, and that's how he got the title fight in SummerSlam this week. Apparently,
is that actually? What do you mean he got the title fight?
Shinsuke Nakamura will be facing Jinder Mahal at SummerSlam.
Really? He beat Cena for that?
Yeah, it was a number one contender
wow.
match. And yeah, and apparently Cena.
What's that guy's name? Mahal?
Mahal.
Jinder Mahal, like Taj Mahal.
2017, assuming Gender Mahal.
What are you saying? I'm confused on what you're saying.
He was making a meme.
Yeah, but it's not a good one because it doesn't make sense. What am I assuming?
Because the guy's first name sounds like gender.
Okay.
Gender.
Makes a little more sense now. I thought you were saying I was assuming he was an Indian or something to say Taj Mahal, but I was going to say he is Indian, fact. And but that's actually dope for Shinsuke. I think that'll be a pretty good match. I don't know how they're gonna. I don't know how the match will actually turn out between him and Jinder, but I'm definitely excited to see it.
I hope he can actually get a legitimate win in a title fight for once.
So you want to see him go over Shinsuke, is what you're saying?
Well, I kind of like Jinder Mahal and I kind of like Shinsuke Nakamura. I would love to see Shinsuke get the title, but
I think it's a little early for him to get it. I think it would be much better used if Shinsuke were to win it in a WrestleMania than at a SummerSlam for his first title.
yeah, so
And
he
definitely
might.
if
This
it were
might
a
be
match
Jinder.
between
This might
him
be
and,
Jinder's first legitimate. That's from what my study of scripts in WWE. This could be Jinder's first non-interference win, but
I seriously doubt it, though. The way he's been booked is a cheating heel. He's gonna be put in the line of fire where he's gonna take Kinshasa, which is his knee strike to the face, and the Singh brothers are gonna get involved and ruin the match.
the Bollywood boys.
Assuming that they want to be called the Bollywood Boys, Terrell. It's fucked up. They're the Singh brothers now. They're done with that Bollywood shit.
I love that. They'll always be the Bollywood boys to me.
Me too. They're at best some guys that stand in the background of an actual talent.
Yeah, because Randy Orton by himself put the boots to him, but that is Randy Orton. He is a pretty big guy.
Big enough for them.
All right,
Well, that's really all the news I have for that. Anybody got anything they want to say in general? Or talk about?
I think I'm all good on my side.
All right.
I'm cool.
Well, this has been the What a Week podcast. The only place you should be coming for a weekly wrap-up of all things nerdy and variety and entertainment. Make sure you like, subscribe, share this with as many people as you can. Make sure that you follow us on all our social media pages as well.
Always done dirty media at.
If you are interested in anything that we talked about, you should send us a message and maybe we'll bring it up on the next show.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to have some other voices here to talk things out with us and give us some more perspective.
Yeah, thanks, Zach and Chris, for showing up. Appreciate it.
As well as Jimmy.
As
even
well
though he
as you,
didn't say
Jimmy.
much. But with that being said, we're going to throw up the deuces. Have a nice big middle finger. Fuck off and have a great week.
Peace.